Arreglo Radio is a platform where young professionals share their stories of ups and downs, lessons learned, and professional expertise, giving you an insight into their lives. So join us as we sit down with some incredibly talented people right here on Arreglo Radio. So, what's going on, good people? Welcome back to Arreglo Radio, and this is episode 9. And sitting across from me today is the one, the only, Savleen. What's going on, girl? How you been?
Good, how are you?
Living life, trying to stay out of trouble, box standard behavior.
So, it's not working?
Wow. That is a spicy way to start an episode. We can't even warm up to it. You're just gonna straight up rip the band-aid off and accuse me of being a fuckery? Fuckboy? I don't know.
Let's go with fuckery.
I'm pretty sure it's not a noun, but...
We're gonna go with it, though.
So what's going on?
Not much.
You okay?
I'm nervous, but okay, let's do this.
Okay, alright, so... let's just like relax.
Calm down?
Yeah.
Get into this? Alright, sounds
It'll
good.
be okay. We'll make you look good in post.
That's all that matters. Honestly.
Okay, so, Savleen, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Where do you want me to start?
Genesis?
Oh, God. Okay, so I've run a sole prop for the last... since 2016, June of 2016.
Sole prop?
Sole proprietorship, which is Empress Studios. It's my makeup company. So it's kind of been a side gig. However, it started to take over my weekdays. And then COVID hit and hit the good old wedding industry this year. So it slowed down just a bit, but it was quite busy in August and September. So that's kind of been my side gig. I started a few things with it. So one thing is like YouTube, showing people how to like actually apply makeup and the rest of that. And then I took a little bit more time to do lives and engage with like audience. Yeah. So that's been busy, and now I'm entering the law world again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just start from the very beginning.
Okay.
So you own a makeup company, right?
Yes.
So, like, tell us a little bit more about that. Like,
okay.
Like, what exactly do you do? Like, who's your clientele? Like, what services do you provide and all that?
Okay, so we do a good mix of, like, non-bridal and wedding makeup. So initially I was doing hair and makeup in the beginning, and then I was able to hire someone on, and they do hair for me. So if it's one client, you kind of just get me. However, if there's more than two, then you get the both of us. And our clientele is mostly a mix between, like, Indian non-bridal and then like white brides. That's kind of it. So right. That's the mixture there. Keeps you really freaking busy. So sometimes you're starting at like 3 a.m. and then you're finishing at 7.
What now?
Yeah, it's a very ungodly hour, but we start at like 3 a.m.
It is literally the most ungodly hour.
Yeah, and there's one time where this year, we started at 1:30 a.m. Yes.
I'm sorry. Wait, hold on. What time was the wedding? At 6?
Actually later. But there's just so many traditions and stuff involved, and when you have groups, it's gonna take about like an hour, 15 minutes per person. So if you've got a group of 6, you have to start earlier, and depending on what time you're leaving to go towards the venue or the temple, you have to like be ready on time.
I have so many questions. Hold on. So
yeah,
let me get this straight.
One.
It takes an hour and a half to apply one person's makeup.
Hair and makeup.
What are you doing? Like, are you building a nest in the hair? Like,
no.
Does the makeup...
Kind of, actually, if you were to think about Indian brides.
God damn.
Yeah, because there's, like, actual hair padding and stuff involved. I think the thing with Indian brides, the reason why it takes so long is there's a lot of pinning involved. So you're actually dressing your bride. Whereas, like, if you're wearing a white gown, you kind of just get into it. We place your veil. However, with an Indian bride, you got to make sure her jewelry is fully secure. Sometimes you're actually sewing it into the hair. You're pinning the dupatta, which is like the scarf, onto the hair, but you're pinning it in such a way that it's there for an entire day. Like if she gets up, moves, puts her head down, all that, she's got to be secure. And there's a lot of malfunctions that happen with outfits that we have to like sew and fix.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So, and now, okay, so let's say it's like, okay, so like, how big are bridal parties normally?
It really depends. So I think right now people aren't really doing bridal parties. It's mostly just like the people that are involved. So whether it be the mom, the sister, or like cousins or something like that. I would say an average morning ranges between 4 to 6 people. However, if we're doing an Indian bride, we're only going to do her because it takes just as long as it does to get those like 4 to 6 people ready.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's lengthy. Like 3.5 hours to get her ready. And then you have to wait for the photographer to allow you to actually finish completing like the dressing services. It's a lot, but it's worth it.
I'm just still having a tough time wrapping my head around the fact that it takes over an hour and a half to 3 hours to get one person ready.
Yeah.
So it's really that involving. Like there's no workaround. Like if you had more hands, could it go by quicker, or is it just like?
I mean, if you hire an assistant, I'm sure you can shave off about 30 minutes. But is it worth it? Usually not. Unless it's just one person doing both hair and makeup, then it makes sense to have an assistant and come in and do all these like tedious little tasks.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if there's just 2 of you, you're golden.
That is wild.
Yeah, and then sometimes it gets a little bit more difficult if like someone's doing hair and makeup at the same time, so you have to like step back, allow someone to finish off their like service, and then get right back into it.
Okay, so this is clearly like a very demanding industry. I had no idea that it was like this. So how did you get into it?
Rebellion.
Come again?
Yeah, so the more that I think about it, I think the reason why I kind of got into what I do is I was told I couldn't wear clear mascara. And from
Why?
My aunt was just not cool with it. And she's like, so I walked out of the washroom and I'm like wearing clear mascara, and you know, brown girls, we have tons of fucking hair anyways. So somehow she noticed, and I was like, what's the problem here? And she's like, you're too young to be wearing it. And I was like, too young to be wearing makeup? Like something that you can't even really see? And then from there I started like YouTubing and like searching what people do and like, I guess, kind of creating my skill set. And then from there I went to Blanche McDonald, completed a 1-year program. So I can do like prosthetics and stuff too, which is cool, but now I kind of only do that towards Halloween. And yeah, from there it just went full freaking swing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing this again?
Technically the business has been registered since 2016, but I've been doing it since 2013.
Oh wow, so you've been at this for a while.
Yeah, almost 8 years.
Damn. Okay. So in terms of like getting the business going in that, right?
Yes.
Was it hard to get it going, or was it just like the sort of thing where it's like, bruh, I know people? It's not
actually, I don't think I got lucky with the whole knowing people thing. I think I really started from ground up, in the sense that, like, I think one of the only family members I had that really assisted me is that one aunt that actually didn't allow me to wear mascara. So from there, she started coming into like Blanche with me because she worked locally downtown, and then she would come model for me. Outside of that, she would allow me to like take pictures and stuff. So I think the biggest thing is like building your portfolio.
Right.
So you have to be willing to do a crap ton of free work and put all your money into building a kit, which is thousands of dollars a year. I know my accountant bitches at me about this, but if you don't have the product and you don't have the time or the money to build it, it can be a little bit harder. So I think you have to put aside that money initially in the beginning, understand that you're going to be doing a lot of free work, building those connections, and from there things start picking up. So there was 2 summers that I was like so swamped because the legal part that I do is real estate like related. So summers are already really busy and you're doing like overtime, whatever it might be. And then on like Thursdays and Fridays, you're working like 3 to 7 a.m., going to work 9 to 5, and then getting ready to be up at like 12 the next day.
Jesus.
So you kind of have to like forfeit a personal life for a little bit, but it's well worth it.
Okay, so I'm assuming that the business is doing relatively well, given that.
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, especially for just like handling it on weekends right now, it's doing very well.
Yeah, but you also did mention that your business was hit pretty hard by...
With COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we weren't allowed to work with the personal service ban for a little bit. And then the other thing is, so we're actually still kind of dealing with this along with many of my friends, where we are rescheduling clients. Some people have asked for deposits back. And if you're running, so I've been running the sole prop for like on its own for about a year and a month now. And that's without a secondary income. So it gets a little bit more difficult. And I know a lot of people are not able to break even at this point, because some of these businesses are making well over $1 million a year. Like, the Indian wedding industry in BC is like revolutionary, honestly. Like, people come here, get trained, and then go from there. And now Toronto's booming, Calgary's booming, California's booming because of what we have in the Lower Mainland here in BC.
Whoa, hold on, time out. Hold on. Whoa, hold on. So let's just backtrack.
Okay.
So what you're telling me is that you got people from all over, wherever the hell they're coming to the Lower Mainland.
Yeah, Surrey, Vancouver.
To get trained on how to apply makeup and execute Indian weddings properly.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it's a whole industry.
Yeah, so a lot of our main top league like vendors out here train people in like videography, photography, then you get down to like the whole cosmetics industry. From there we have like, I have a really good friend that does solely Indian weddings in Mexico. So that's her thing. So she's the destination wedding planner. That's her full-time gig. Right now, of course, we can't really do that. However, she gets asked through resorts to train locals in Mexico. Yeah. So now Mexico has done this thing where they've actually resorted to people in India and got them flown out. And now they live in Mexico, where they provide services towards Indian weddings. Because some of these resorts will... That's their bread and butter right now, is Indian weddings.
Like, it's really that big a thing.
It's huge.
Okay, so I'm ignorant.
There was a documentary that was done about 3, maybe 4 years ago. An average Indian wedding in BC costs $100K.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's a booming industry, and it's not slowing down.
Let's just okay.
I think it was on CBC or something crazy.
Hold on. Wait, hold on. 100K.
Yeah.
So like
so probably about a 40-60 split or a 50-50 split between both sides. Average. Keep that in mind.
Okay. Let me just
breathe for a second. Take a drink.
Sweet Jesus Christ. Okay, so clearly, so I've heard that Indian weddings are this whole damn near festival kind of thing, right? So obviously hearing that and you're like, okay, cool, whatever. Like, how extreme could it possibly be? Like,
pretty
at the end of the day,
extreme.
like, it's a wedding. Like how far could people really go? I think what
comes into it is like,
is it like a flexing thing?
There's like traditions and stuff involved. So I think what Canada, from what I understand, the only people that are super on par with what we do in the States is California. So throughout Canada, I think what we've done is we've actually prolonged the events. So we've actually split them up into days. I could be wrong, and I sure as hell know people are going to have an opinion about this, but we have now split up the events. So things get busier. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but I think we've also kind of made them a lot more elaborate.
Yeah.
So instead of doing everything like back to back, 2-3 days in a row, we've split it amongst a week. Some people will still do 3 events. Some people will do the whole fucking 7 days, but it really depends. Yeah.
A week.
Yeah. As exciting as they are, you do get tired, even if you're attending. But they're freaking fun.
I don't doubt it, because it's a
blast.
week-long party.
Yeah, literally.
Okay. I need to go to one of these weddings.
I'll get wiped one day.
Just for me. Do it for me.
Yeah.
Do it for me.
I'll do it for all my non-brown friends.
Just so that I can have that experience where I can be like, I finally went to one. This is great.
It'll be boring as fuck, but yeah, I'll invite you.
What do you mean boring?
It'll be boring on my side, don't worry.
Why?
I have talked to a few of my friends being like, dude, if I could get married with this 50 people thing, shit would be fantastic. It would be.
Okay, look.
Yeah.
I don't know how your family
The
set up.
introvert part of me wants.
I don't know how. Okay, so I don't know.
50 people wouldn't even cover like a quarter of my mom's side of the family.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Or even an eighth, let's be real.
Sounds about right. Because I don't know how your family set up, but if I made the mistake of telling my mother, Mumsy, right, I'm getting married, but the guest list is limited to 100 people. She'd be like,
flip. 100 people. We're
My
talking
mom-
50 both sides.
my mom will legitimately take her glasses off, look me in the eye and say, what have I done to hurt you? I'm like, why is it so deep, fam? Like, it's really not that big an issue, but she will legitimately...
Are you the eldest son?
Yeah, firstborn.
Yeah, I'm the firstborn too.
Oy, pressure.
But my sister got married before me, so win-win. Less people at my wedding. Oh, Jesus.
I don't have an opinion on that.
Why not? It makes it easier.
Does it
At
actually?
least for us.
Does it?
Yeah, because then all of a sudden it's like, hey, well, I mean, there's obviously judgment thinking, oh, your younger sister got married before you. But luckily, my family doesn't give a shit about that.
Yeah.
But she has to deal with all the other people.
What, the in-laws?
No, like the other extended family, not even extended family, like
yeah,
the people that immigrated along with like our grandparents kind of thing, like everyone.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like I'm going to be lucky and be like, okay, we're
Look.
good. We're golden.
I already know that if I ever got married,
If
it would, yes, if I ever got married, it would definitely be one of those things where it's like, okay, so we're going to have like a thing in Canada.
Oh, and a thing back home.
Because I promise you, knowing my family and the way that my family dynamic is set up, if I even hinted at not doing something back home, I will have people blowing up my phone going, oh, so this is you now, huh? You moved to Canada, you lived there for 10 years, now you think that you're better than the rest of us, huh?
I get that.
Okay, huh? So you bougie, huh? We raised you, bro. Like, yo, fam, it's
Literally,
really not
though,
that
that
deep.
raised you thing
Yeah.
is so big.
I was like, fam, like, it's really not that deep, but people get
But
in that bag.
they think it is, right? I think the cool thing about these COVID weddings, though, I've noticed amongst a lot of my clients is live streaming is now available. So
Yeah.
people in India are like having these like little gathering, like viewing parties where everybody's getting together and can
Yeah.
finally like not wait 6 to 12 months to see someone's wedding. They can
Yeah.
see it while it's happening.
Yeah.
So it's been super cool to like just hear those conversations at like fucking 3-4 in the morning where everybody's just so psyched and like congratulating you and just being like, dude, we can't wait for the live streaming to show. But on the client side of it, they're nervous because they're like, dude, we actually feel like we're putting up a show at this point because everybody is viewing it, right? Like at home. And I'm like,
It's like Big Brother.
oh, I fucking love Big Brother.
Excuse me, what now?
It's my favorite show.
So you watch
Not the
trash
Canadian version. Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah.
It's trash TV.
Julie Chen is phenomenal. I'm a little bit offended.
Look, I don't watch Big Brother, but all I'm saying is that like it's kind of trash TV.
No, but okay.
What's the
I don't watch
premise?
like The Bachelor or anything like that. That's trash.
And more power to you for doing that. 'cause
Thank
that
you.
is an absolute
I think it's
abomination.
interesting because it's like it's social like experiment. These people are stuck in a house and they're fucking literally like vultures towards getting whatever the last prize is. Yeah, vultures. They are though. It's like you're fighting. Like, okay, so let's say all of us are living in one house, right? And we're all like good friends, but low key, I'm out here backstabbing you guys because I want the $1 million prize. That's vulture.
That just sounds like some snake shit to me.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go with Snake.
Okay, so I was watching a Vice documentary on how photographers and wedding planners and all these other people in India,
In India.
apparently what they do, it's a Vice documentary, so these motherfuckers will just be bouncing all over
Everywhere.
the world. Exactly. So in this documentary, I found it really interesting, and when I watched it, you were literally the first person that popped in my head, because in this documentary, what they're doing is that you've got these like wedding catalog photographers that are hiring Russian and Ukrainian women to model in like traditional
yeah.
Indian like,
Yeah.
like attire.
Is this due to one of my Instagram posts a few days ago?
I'm not gonna
Maybe?
say it is. I'm not gonna say it isn't. I don't know. But I was kind of curious to kind of hear your thoughts on it and whether or not this is actually a thing, like a big thing.
Colorism.
Because Vice has this habit of like blowing stuff up that
Yeah,
may or
I don't
may
pay
not
too
be.
much attention to them, but unfortunately in India, colorism is a huge thing. So India has plenty of cultures, religions in the back of it, I think close to the hundreds. And unfortunately, the fairer skin you are, the more you are deemed acceptable, or what, like, let's say Bollywood. So a huge thing that kind of finally came to light. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily came to light, but I think a lot of people finally started understanding it. Is there's this product and this company called Fair and Lovely in India, and Fair and Lovely is literally like a bleaching cream.
Ooh, yeah.
So it shows like a darker complexion Indian girl versus like her looking lighter. Like I'm talking white lighter. So unfortunately, India has this thing where they're super like they just don't want to fucking accept us for being like melanated at all, really. So it came down to a lot of people finally, even locally, were like, hey, we need to start using girls that are of whatever culture it is for what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like that in the sense that if it's so the example that I used a few days ago was I will only use someone that is half Indian or fully Indian for a traditional like bridal shoot. And the reason being is one, we live in BC. There is a brown girl in every corner that is just fucking stunning. So why would we not give her the opportunity if she's not given it anywhere else? But I don't have a problem with her, like, let's say she's an editorial model and she's white or whatever other ethnicity that she is, and we use her in traditional clothes. I think it just depends on the concept that you're showing. If I'm showing off, like, a traditional wedding and it's not, like, where the groom is, like, Indian or whatever the case might be, I'm gonna want to use someone that is Indian. And I think it's about giving the opportunities to the people that are from those backgrounds. So I can get a little deep about this, but that's just...
Let's get into it.
That's... okay, damn.
Why not?
Because I feel like everybody's got an opinion, right? But I don't know. I just genuinely believe that all of these girls need to be given their opportunities. And I don't think it's fair when we've got all of these girls from all these different backgrounds that fit that category...
Yeah.
to not be using them.
Fair enough. And that makes all the sense to me. There is, however, a school of thought that believes that in order for the culture to be shared more widely,
Yeah.
it needs to be like put in front of people. And
Yeah, and that's fair. Like, I've used a girl in January, I believe, that was not like Indian at all, and we put her in Indian clothes, we gave her the henna. However, our idea was not to obviously culture appropriate, because that's like incredibly like important to me, but we used her, we threw her in there, and she was like a bridesmaid, like she was, or like a maid of honor, whatever you want to go with. And I think that's completely fair.
just to pick a... Jesus, what am I saying?
I don't know,
English is hard right now. So
it's difficult for me as well.
it's wild. So just to piggyback off of what we were just talking about,
Yeah.
like, why... I don't even know if you can actually answer this question, but it's something that I've wondered for a while. It's like, because you touched on the traditions behind Indian weddings and all that other stuff. It's like, why are they so elaborate? At least like from the outside looking in, because they look like...
I think the biggest thing is from household to household, it really differentiates. So it's hard for me to actually give you an opinion, because I can't speak for the entire culture on its own.
Right.
I can speak amongst both sides of my family. So my dad's side versus my mom's side, very fucking different in the sense that they're from the same side of the river, as this would say. But, yeah, so Punjab is actually, let me try to explain that. So Punjab comes from, like, the north, and then there's a river in between, then there's the south. So there's 3 different dialects that I'm aware of. However, both my family is, like, one dialect. However, my dad's side kind of differentiates between the two.
Okay.
So The way that we were to have weddings very much so was different than the way that my mom's side of the family would have a wedding at their house. So like, let's say a man from my dad's side of the family got married would be very different than the way that a man got married from my mom's side of the family.
Right.
Just due to like different values in a house, different cultural like backgrounds in a house, and the way that they practice religion in a household. So I think it can get a little bit complicated, and I definitely cannot speak to Punjab
culture,
as like
yeah,
a
for sure.
whole. And I'm sure you can't either, because
Yeah.
there's different dialects and the rest of it as well
Yeah.
that's involved, and the way that you kind of like immigrate to Canada and like deal with, you know, cultural backgrounds as well. So I don't know if I can answer to that, and I wouldn't.
That's fair.
I wouldn't.
Honestly, like,
Yeah.
that's actually very fair, because from the outside looking in, right,
You see elaborate weddings.
because those are the ones that end up on like the trending page.
Yeah.
Right? Like these, like, over
A
the
lot
top.
of people have like the idea that they're gonna be big on social media, and genuinely, me as someone that's in the wedding industry, I don't understand why that's the end goal unless it's paying your fucking bills. But
Maybe
it
it's
is
just
what
for
it
the
is.
clout, because, you know.
Yeah, honestly, I
'Cause-
think it is.
Because clout is one hell of a drug.
But do you want to go into depth for that?
Excuse me, what now?
A lot of people do.
Excuse me, what now?
A lot of people will get like, let's say,
Wait, hold on. People taking out loans for their weddings.
unfortunately, not them, their parents. So
Jeez,
unfortunately, in our
man.
industry and in our cultures, plural, a lot of people will go ahead and take on second mortgages, whether it be private or through like a financial institution. They'll get like cars insured to their homes. And I think these are a lot of things that I understood from being in the law community. So I didn't really understand how a lot of these people were getting the funds that they did have until it came down to me understanding that there was things that were being secured to homes and mortgages and private loans that were being taken on. And unfortunately, a lot of these parents were taking on additional stress to ensure that their children had these certain kinds of weddings, whether the child wanted it or not. Yeah, it's sad.
That is wild.
I know, it's unfortunate, but that comes down to a lot of things of what you were initially saying in the beginning of our conversation, where it was like, do a lot of these people do it for like the clout, or for people to understand that they're bigger than the other person is? Unfortunately, a lot of families have that mentality.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot.
Yeah, and it's a lot for like people our age to step up to too, and say like, hey, mom, dad, you don't need to do that. There's no reason for you to be putting yourself through that debt. But unfortunately, it's not something that a lot of people think of, like they think of long term. Like, to get very serious, and this is a law background that plays into it, is once these parents pass away, who's taking on that debt? You. Or me. Whoever it might be, right?
I mean, so the debt for these hyper elaborate, like, 6-figure weddings,
Yeah.
it just comes full circle then, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
And some people are lucky where they don't have debt to think about, but unfortunately, a lot of people do have to think about it.
And this is like a pervasive thing. Like, this isn't just like a once in a blue moon kind of a thing.
No,
like,
unfortunately, it's frequent.
okay, so let me just build this out in my own head. So between the hyper successful destination weddings to Vancouver being a central hub for like Indian wedding
Hell yeah.
planning culture and all of that, and the 6-figure weddings that are all over social media, this is like a multi-billion-dollar industry potentially. Like, it's like, it's one of those
I
things
would
that's
definitely
like,
go with billion for sure, because million is like each business on their own at this point, especially the elite of the elite. Like, these guys are racking in millions a year, and honestly,
from
God
weddings.
fucking bless them for being able to do that. But
just from weddings.
yeah, just weddings on their own. And then a lot of people will go ahead and take on additional things, but for the most part, it's weddings.
Jesus Christ.
But if you think about it, wouldn't we all want to be there?
Hey, look, like
Yeah.
I said, like dead ass. If you ever get married, like I expect an invite, like.
I just can't
Post-haste.
promise that I'll be the elite of the elite, but yeah.
Who cares? It's a wedding. Because here's the thing, like.
It's an experience.
Yeah, because like, from what I've seen, it doesn't matter what the culture is or whatever. Like weddings are celebrations, and
Yeah.
typically when it's a celebration, like.
Especially when there's a culture involved with
Yeah,
it.
like things get a little.
Extra.
Things get a little extra. Things may get a little out of hand. Like that's all. Like that's all.
Getting out of hand is what we do best.
Oh, God, let's not generalize. God damn it.
But we do, and I'm sure most of us are proud of it.
Hey, if it works, it works, right? Alright. So, I guess right now, like the only question that I have left is like, how did you like figure out that like this is something that is sustainable, like as something that you want to do? Like,
Yeah, so I'll explain. So initially when I went into this, I had absolutely no clue that this was like $1 million industry, billion even at this point. So when I had started was about 2013, and I had slowly started getting into like graduation makeup and the rest of it, and then from there things started really blowing up. 2015 and 2016 were my busiest years. Unfortunately, in between both jobs, I was so swamped that I wasn't able to sustain the workload that I needed to promote myself, which is like behind the scenes videos, pictures of my clients behind the scenes. So a lot of people thought I was just doing shoots, and a lot of people honestly still think that I do that. However, I am still busy. And then I started finding out through my accountant, God bless her, how much I was making on the side. And from when I started seeing the figures, I was like, holy fuck.
big boy numbers.
Big boy numbers. And then from there...
Wait, so hold on. So when we say like big numbers, are we talking like
we're talking
German
thousands.
Shepherd big dog, or are
What
we
the
talking
fuck?
like
What's bigger than a German Shepherd? Because
like-
I like to think that Rottweilers are better than
like
German
Great
Shepherds.
Dane, like big
No,
dog
that's
and-
insanity. I haven't gotten down to Great Dane yet, but I have
where are you right
faith
now?
that
Like-
there's a possibility for it.
So where you at, like Golden Retriever, or are you at like a Chihuahua?
I like to think of, so when I think of dogs, I like to think Chihuahua, like,
They're not dogs.
yeah, they are. They're
They're
tiny
not dogs.
and they're
They are
adorable.
not
They are
dogs.
fucking dogs.
They shake.
They're
What kind of a dog
adorable.
shakes at room
Lots of
temperature?
dogs have anxiety, okay?
I don't think they have anxiety. I just think that they have so
So
little
I'll just
muscle
stick
mass
to my
that they
good
just
old
like can't
like.
keep
So
warm.
when we were younger, we always had Rottweilers, and the one Rottweiler I can think of that was the most amazing thing on earth was Kane. And so if I were to think of Kane, that's probably where I would think of, as in cocky as hell, but also super fucking chill.
Oof,
Like he was like the best of both worlds. Like
just let it hang.
honestly, there was one time.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Okay, one time we were all hanging out in our living room, and it was actually not all. It was just me and my aunt that were hanging out in the living room. And all of a sudden, we see fucking flashlights going off in the backyard, and we're like, "What the fuck is going on?" There's a fucking cop running through our backyard trying to find someone, and our fucking Rottweiler, who was trained for this, was just chilling. He just fucking knocked out. Doesn't give a shit. Has no clue someone's running through the backyard. So we had to get onto the deck and we're like, what are you doing? They're like, oh, we're just looking for someone. I was like, this fucking dog is useless.
So at least
But
he
I
was
loved
friendly.
him. Yeah, and he used
At
to give us
least he was
piggyback
friendly.
rides.
Excuse me, what now?
Yeah, we were so small that he used to give us piggyback rides after school.
How old were you?
Pretty fucking young, but it doesn't matter. I'm sure he could still do the same thing.
Oh, my
I loved
days.
Kane, okay? He was the most amazing dog we've ever had.
Yeah. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
Cutest little thing. Not
Little.
little, but he was big.
Little.
But
So
yeah.
what kind of a Rottweiler
He was
did you
definitely
have?
fucking bigger than I was. My whole life.
Just a big dog.
Yeah. He was
Oh,
great,
man.
though.
I mean, I don't doubt it. Okay, so let's get into like a little bit of like story time.
Sure.
Like, have you ever had to deal with like a bridezilla type?
Yeah, actually my first bride ever.
Jesus Christ.
And I'm pretty upfront about it.
How bad?
So basically,
On like a scale of like 1 to like, I want to pull this woman's head out, 10, like,
no, I
hair out.
think unfortunately, so I was diagnosed with severe anxiety in 2013, which is exactly when I started taking on clients.
Okay.
So, like driving to a different city would cause me anxiety, whatever else may be, to the point where I'd be like physically shaking. And luckily, I have a good hold on that now. But, so I got hired through somebody that I knew for this one bride, and this girl, we had communicated through the phone, and so she was getting married from Alberta to BC.
Okay.
So I got her ready first thing in the morning, and then I had to get her ready in the afternoon, and she actually like put her arms on my shoulders and kind of like shook me, and I was like, I don't know what to do with this, and like started telling me all these crazy things, and then started kind of just, there was a lot going on to the point where it caused me like serious anxiety, to the point where someone who lived in that house had to actually sit with me for about 30 minutes until I calmed down and was able to drive home from Burnaby to Abbey. And I take that experience as like as a win, almost, as in like I was able to actually provide her the services that she needed, as much as I was having a fucking stroke on my own. I was able to provide this woman with the services that she wanted, and like looked beautiful and felt good. However, throughout the whole time, like I couldn't breathe. I could barely sit down. I was shaking quite severely, and that was it. That was my first and last client that I've had, like, that caused me serious fucking anxiety, to the point where I felt like I like failed as an artist. And luckily, that happened right off the bat. I think it'd be worse if you went into it as in being like, hey, dude, I fucking got this. Like, my hands are on this. I'm so good, blah, blah, blah. But luckily, I had that reality check right in the beginning. So, yeah, that was a hard one.
I mean,
And the craziest thing is, the client that actually booked me in for that wedding, like, almost yearly apologizes for it.
So it was that bad? Like,
yeah. It was brutal.
That sounds horrible.
But she was going through some shit, so I kind of wish that I kind of knew at the moment, because I think I would be able to handle it a little bit better if I kind of understood. But I mean, I did what I needed to do, got that service done, but the end of it, when it came down to breathing and being able to be like, okay, I gotta go home, I couldn't do it, like, at all.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was a hard one. Because I think the thing is, like, with being a makeup artist or a hair artist, whatever it might be, you're taking on people's stress, you're listening in, you're kind of giving them advice, and you're going from there. So I kind of feel like I play the role of a counselor quite often.
Yeah.
One thing I had discovered a few years ago is I came across a lot of older women that said that they weren't able to, you know, experience the things that they wish that they could have, go for the opportunities that they could have. And that's when I changed my mindset completely. And I was like, if I have the opportunity to do something new, I'm going to fucking take it, and I'm going to go with it. So I think that I've learned a lot through my clientele, whether it be bad or good, but I'm thankful for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so do you think that, like, all of the lessons that you've learned have, like, equipped you to potentially, like, take on, like, a mentorship role? Or,
yeah.
Yeah?
I think mentorship is a huge thing, and I'm sure a lot of my grad clients fucking hate this, but it is what it is. I think a lot of times when the girls that are a lot younger would come into me and they start, you know, venting about certain things, I always have advice. Yeah. Whether that be from my personal experience or through someone else's experience, it's just something I enjoy doing. And I think a lot of people either are ready for that or they're not ready for it. I recently had a client come in that told me about something very crazy in her life, and then followed up with me because she genuinely enjoyed my advice and thought it was genuine and that I understood her. And then still almost weekly will follow up and say, this is how I'm feeling. And I'm like, that to me is more important than sustaining clients. Is like building those certain relationships and understanding where these people are coming from, and that I'm able to assist them. I'm not just fucking throwing makeup on their face. I'm like getting to know them. I'm understanding them. I'm making them feel beautiful inside and out. and then, building those relationships in the long run.
That absolutely makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I can, like, I can kind of understand like the pressure to
It's a lot.
to be working with someone for an extended period of time, because you said that some of these sessions can go for like 3 hours with just one person. So obviously, like in those 3 hours, like you're gonna start talking about some very real shit.
Very.
Like whenever like I go in to get like a tattoo done for an example,
You're there for hours.
like I'm sitting in that chair for like 2-3 hours. So
Yeah.
over that time, like you build like a certain rapport and like a certain bond potentially. So
I think the biggest thing about personal services that are offered is you do basic, like let's say if you go and get a haircut, you're gonna look for a hairdresser that can fulfill whatever you want throughout the long run. So you build those relationships with these people. So like my hairdresser, I went in for a fucking whim one day, and I was like, dude, I'm so impatient. I just want a balayage, and I went from there, and all of a sudden I was stuck at the salon for like 3 hours, and I've been stuck with her for 5 years. So much so that she's like a good friend with business, outside of business. Like I love her to death. But I think those are things that you have to think about when you go and find these things. But there's also a lot of people that will go into these certain kinds of personal services, like let's say get a tattoo where they're sitting at the salon for 3 to 4 hours, maybe even 6. They don't give a shit about building relationships, and that's completely okay. But then there's a lot of people that are like, hey, like I want to know if I can go to you the next time, or if I can refer family and friends to you, or whatever it is. And to me, more so building relationships is like the most important part, rather than providing like, I mean, obviously I'm going to provide the most exceptional service ever, but building that relationship is incredibly important, right?
Absolutely. So then I guess like the last question that I have for you is, well, maybe not the last, because you know me.
You're going to bother me.
Oh, come on. But in terms of like words of wisdom that you could like give to someone that is looking to get into this industry, or if you had the opportunity like to talk to like you like 10 years ago.
Oh fuck, so many things. So many things.
What advice would you give?
So I think if I were to think about myself and go from there, it would be, I've been pretty confident my entire life, and honestly thank God for that, because I don't think, I mean, I'm human, so there's obviously things I'm insecure about, there's things that will come up, whatever it might be. However, I think I've always had a good grip of what I want, and I knew how to go for it.
Right.
Whether I succeed or not. I think the most important thing is like people need to learn that failing is acceptable. Failing isn't gonna fucking ruin your life, and it should absolutely not be the reason why you don't go for that one thing over and over and over again.
Right.
I think like, let's say, I can use a good example from a friend of mine. Whether you want to get into medical and you don't, there's other aspects that you can take, other avenues that you can take to get into that medical field, and that's totally fucking fine. For me, I think if there was another makeup artist out there hearing me and being like, dude, like, how did she get to where she is? I think the advice that I would have is understand that you have to put aside a shit ton of money towards building your kit. Understand that going into a house is very different than going into a hotel, as in like build that fucking kit. You're gonna want something that is sustainable. You're gonna want something that is like able to fucking roll up the stairs or whatever the case might be. So instead of putting aside $100, you might want to put aside $300 towards a kit that can put aside all of your product. From there, you're gonna want to make sure that you're able to provide services to every ethnicity. So whether you go from like fucking albino to as dark as you possibly could, you want to make sure you have those two ranges and be able to mix those products to achieve every skin tone that you need to. I think the most important thing is being able to value every clientele that you can be hit with, and not provide services to just a one person. And then also the other most important thing is like, you will learn a lot from certain clientele. Like some people will have like eczema and you won't be familiar with it because you don't have it, and then you'll learn techniques and like about products through them. Or someone that is suffering through like whatever it might be. I think the most important thing is like learning through your clientele, but also understanding that you're not a pro no matter what.
Right.
You're always going to learn through someone, or you're always going to learn through watching a video, whatever the case might be. You have to always be open to learning and understanding your clientele. And some people will come to you and say, no, like this primer works for me, this foundation works for me, what you have doesn't work for me. And that's fair. So I think the biggest thing is like just being open to no matter what happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Words of wisdom right there. Finger snaps.
Hell yeah.
Come on. All right. So before we wrap up, where can people find you?
Yeah, so they can find me on Instagram or on YouTube under Empress Studios. So EMPRESS Studios, plural. And if you want to follow my travel stories, which unfortunately I'm not able to do right now, but Wander with Sav.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Savleen, it's been awesome to have you on.
Bless
Thanks
you.
for pulling through. And yes, you do owe me brunch. Anyway, for those of you listening,
I'll go with dinner.
Anyway, for those of you listening and watching at home, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 9 of Arreglo Radio. And as always, take it easy, have a good one, and be kind to one another. Peace.
Honestly.
We are Arreglo Entertainment, and our podcast Arreglo Radio is a platform where we take a deeper dive into the lives and minds of young professionals in Vancouver. Through engaging and personable conversations with our guests, we gain insight into their professional expertise, ideologies, and really dissect what makes them tick. Our guests come from a wide spectrum of professions, from accountants to makeup artists, musicians to entrepreneurs. We aim to really understand and showcase what drives the next generation of business, social, and community leaders. We believe that providing a more relaxed atmosphere that feels like home, coupled with some light banter, presents the opportunity for better conversations that don't feel staged. Arreglo Entertainment is a group of former international students looking to fully understand Vancouver, its people, and culture. And coming from this perspective, we believe that we are uniquely capable of having these in-depth exploratory conversations.